This is problem 20 in section 1.1. The local historical society wants to preserve two buildings. The total age of the buildings is 320 years, and one building is 3 times as old as the other. Now, your numbers of years and even the number of times here may differ from this, but it would work the same way. They are not worried about you setting up some kind of an equation or even a system of equations and using that to solve this algebraically. They basically want you to play around with the numbers until you figure out what the answer is. So you've got two conditions. The total of the two ages, the sum, must be 320. And one age equals 3 times the other. So don't worry about X's and Y's and QRZ's. Start with two numbers that satisfy one of these conditions, and then play around with the numbers until you find a pair that satisfies that condition and the other condition. In other words, you're guessing, but you're making an educated guess because you can gradually narrow in on what works. I think it would be easier to start with numbers where one number is 3 times the other number, and then work toward two numbers that add up to 320, instead of trying to start with all the numbers that add up to 320 and then find one that's 3 times as big as the other one. So let's start here. So we got one building. We'll kind of organize this. We got the second building. We're going to only use numbers where one number is 3 times the other. So we're looking for the pair that add up to 320. Like we could start with first building's 1 year old, so the next one would be 3 years old. 3 times as old as the first one. Now the sum there is 4, so we are a long, long way from a couple of buildings that add up to 320 years together. So let's try 10, and 3 times that would be 30. And so now we're only up to 40. We could go with 100 and 300, and that adds up to 400. So now we've overshot it. So let's work backwards. How about 50, and then the second one would have to be 150, and that adds up to 20. Keep going. Since 320 is between 400 and 200, the age of the first building has to be between 50 and 100, which would make the age of the second building somewhere between 150 and 300. So try 75. Keep splitting the difference. 3 times 75 is 225. What does that add up to? How close is it? Is the sum too small or too large? If it's too large, we got to back down. If it's not quite big enough yet, we got to keep going up. Use this to work it out. That's all they want you to do. And let me know how it goes.